Hi, everyone. Welcome to You Make the Call. Really happy to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We've got a rapid opening tonight. We got a few. If you notice, in the last few shows, we've kind of changed it a little bit to kind of give you some information about what's going on outside of Peabody as well. We're trying to expand a little bit so all our viewers, get a little something to know what's going on in case they've missed things. But Barry's going to open the first couple of items. You got 3 or 4 items you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to jump in with some other stuff. So go ahead, Barry.
Well, first of all, it was a tough way to start Sunday night, the week, with the Patriots getting skunked on national TV and staying up till 11:30. And having
Turn my hair white.
It was a tough game, but hopefully better times are ahead. A couple of weeks ago, they had the International Festival, huge crowds. Somewhere I've heard up to 50,000 people came down, one of the best ever. So kudos to the mayor and all the volunteers that really make that a great event. And to piggyback on that, Dick, on the Friday before, there was a fundraiser for the North Shore Elder Services, which is a great organization. So if anybody needs help with aging parents and issues, that type of thing, reach out to them. They had a fundraiser at the Black Box Theater. And when I was on the council, that was one of the projects that came through, and we approved it as a council, but I think my words were, this is one thing that could be very successful, and I wish it was larger. But anyway, we went to the fundraiser. It was wonderful, great time. And then we walked up the street, my wife and I, went to La Siesta. The new Mexican restaurant is fantastic. It was busy. So kudos to whoever brought La Siesta here. I don't know if it was Pat Tedisco, who's doing the apartments there, but they did a great job. And if it's the mayor and the business liaison, I was very impressed with that. So it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Good.
So
Good.
Just kudos to them. And then on top of everything, which this is all good stuff, I read an article it was a USA Today that Peabody is one of out of the top 10 hottest real estate markets in the country. Peabody is number 5. And the average retail price is almost $425,000 for a home. Mm-hmm. And the millennials, are the main purchasers, anywhere from 34 to 40.
They're driving the market
They're driving the market. And this is...
That's good news.
And so things are looking up in Peabody, and and just to piggyback onto that, and also that's why we talked about those MCAS scores. So if millennials are moving here, they're coming here, they're going to have a family. We have to make sure that those MCAS scores go up, because if the MCAS scores go down, so do our real estate values. Right. I really think they're linked.
Oh, I think that too.
And so we don't know the results yet, but.
And did you hear anything on that?
I have not heard. I've asked quite a few people, and it's supposed to be out soon. Let's cross our fingers and see where it goes.
How much massaging can they do?
Well, I don't want to say anything until we actually. I hear you, but let's. We want to be positive.
Well, we have to be positive because really, I mean. We have an obligation to be, not to be positive as much as to make sure that people understand what's going on in the city. That's what our responsibility is. That's what the show is all about. Yeah. And any time that the folks don't want us to tell them what's going on, please call us, and that'll be my last show.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you on that. I mean, I think, we're not negative on purpose. We usually report something that doesn't strike us right, and if the people in office can't accept that or can't take the heat, then maybe they should find a new endeavor. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that we're positive, and the fact that Peabody now, as you just mentioned, is the 5th hottest market in real estate market in the country. That can quickly change if our school systems, is not viewed favorably too. So that's why we mention things like the MCAS. We don't always tie all the the dots together, but that's the reason for it. So now you bring this up, and boom, it's a perfect segue right into the MCAS, because
absolutely.
So
We'll get to that when those hit.
True.
And we'll have I'm sure we'll have long discussions about what's going on, and some of the teachers out there may be able to shine a light a little more into what's actually going on and the issues up there. So let's just stay we'll stay the course, and hopefully we continue our real estate values. Because you imagine if the scores go way up. It's great for the city.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. So.
Oh, good.
So,
anything else?
Let's see. Locally, there is a fundraiser I want to mention on October 25th at the Kowloon. Cops supporting kids with cancer. Joe Baradino, a retired police officer, and the police are sponsoring this. It's 6 to 10, $25 Chinese food buffet, great prizes and raffles, and all the money's going to a great cause. So it's. I hope everybody comes out.
What is it? The 25th?
The 25th of October, 6 to 10,
at Kowloon.
At the Kowloon. I think it's a Thursday night. So I hope people come out and support that. I think that's a very worthwhile cause. And
how much is what are the tickets?
It's $25, but you get all you can shove into yourself for $25.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So.
And I'm going to do a little segment like I've been doing the last couple of weeks anyway, and get into a couple of other things that are outside of Peabody. Maybe of some interest to our viewers before we get into our issues. First one, I just wanted to mention that for those who didn't see it or missed it former Beverly Mayor Bill Scanlon collapsed while doing a presentation at the new Beverly Middle School, and he was rushed to Brigham and Women's, where he had a pacemaker put in, and the next day, that was last Friday, Saturday morning, he had a pacemaker put in, and he's doing fine. And they rescheduled the event, and he's at home, and he talked to the press recently, I guess, and said he can't wait to finish his speech and finish what he had to say. So good luck to him, and our prayers are with him. So for those of you missed, I just want to mention that I think he was the mayor for 18 years. I think he was one of the longest serving. I think he's the longest serving mayor in the history of Beverly, but one of the longest serving mayors in the North Shore as well.
It's a pretty scary scenario if anybody's ever been out in public, and it's happened to me once where I wasn't feeling too steady on my feet, whatever the issue was, and you're in front of a whole group of people, and then obviously that's so severe. And he's a super guy. I've known him for a long time, and his wife is a lovely person, so hopefully she's taking good care of him.
Not just a guy, Yep. Not just a guy. All right. And the next thing I wanted to mention, from the political point of view on the national level, you've probably been reading a lot lately about this Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh, and the problems he's been going through, and the problems he may have created. Who knows? These sexual allegation issues that have come up. That vote was scheduled for the day after tomorrow, I believe.
Absolutely.
And I think a new allegation came up just today. And so
that's number 3?
Yeah. That vote may be canceled. I don't know. Who knows whether it is or it isn't. But just wanted to bring that up because I know a lot of you it might have been following it in the newspapers and whatnot. It's been so voluminous on the internet, but also in newspapers and whatnot. And it's, charges and counter charges, and, people calling each other names and all kinds of stuff like that. But I just want everybody to keep in mind all that's going on. We're still a country where, these are serious allegations, but they're still alleged. You know what I mean? They're still alleged. And so I think it's always a prudent position to take. Someone is really innocent until they're found guilty. So we don't know what's going to happen here. And just hopefully everybody gets it right, and a right decision is made one way or the other. So I wanted to bring that up because it's all over the papers, and I'm sure that people are spending time making all kinds of comments about it, one way or the other. And for those of you who missed it, I think it was yesterday, that former celebrity and comedian Bill Cosby was sentenced to a 3 to 10 year, in prison for sexual assault and rape. So
rightfully so on that one.
That thing finally concluded after many years. So for those of you who missed it, that happened since our last show as well. And then this is in the business a little. I just wanted to, because everybody, you see the new theme, the theme all the time. America runs on Dunkin'. Well, Dunkin' Donuts is changing its name. For those of you who didn't see it, because they're branching out, obviously, in the products they sell at Dunkin' Donuts and some companies they own as well. So it's now going to be called Dunkin' Brands in 2019. So. Nothing much will change other than the name, so it's not. We used to call it Dunkins anyway. Everybody calls it Dunkins, so I don't think it makes much of a difference. But for those of you who are interested, maybe didn't see it, they're going to change their names to take up their new direction in their product.
Yeah, it's more of a branding and image.
Sure it is.
So donuts aren't what we call, quote unquote, a healthy food. I can still go in there and get my 1,000-calorie donuts that wax me full of cholesterol.
But they're damn good in the morning.
But they're going to be Dunkin' and not. They're good.
They're damn good in the morning. They get a good donut. So anyway, I want to bring those up just to kind of bring some other things into what's going on besides in Peabody and whatnot. So anyway, okay. So now we're going to get into our issues, and we decided we want to talk about the cell phone antenna issue once again. This is three shows in a row that this has come up, and it's because part of it is because there's so much kicking this football around, and now it's in. I think it's in. It's been kicked from the city council to the light commission, I think, and
it's so. The web that it's gone through.
Yes. Yeah.
But so long and short of it, they did have a meeting last Thursday, 2 weeks. I don't know what the day it was. I think it was last
week. I think it was too.
And there was a motion to approve. Well, actually, there was a motion for the 6 poles that they were going to approve, putting up 6 poles around the city so they could put their own antennas. And
in different parts of the city.
In different parts of the city. There's another whole batch, but this was the first one. And this was the one where only 6 people could vote because the vote took place at 12:30 after midnight, in the morning. And I don't want to get hung up on the parliamentary procedure, but the motion was made in the negative.
Well, before you do that, okay, because that's a segue into that. I agree. But what about now the polls? Okay, now it was denied, right, by the city council.
Yes.
Okay.
It was denied.
Okay.
It was denied. Eventually, through all the rigmarole, they got what they wanted. They denied the 6 polls. So
the city council got what they wanted. Just because we want to make sure folks understand, so only 6 councilors can vote, which is going to lead into our next issue. We talk about about Ian Mings. But before we do that, so they wanted to, the goal was to put antennas up rather than a tower.
Yeah, they never. The cell phone tower, Dick, is just a threat. They don't want to. That's antiquated technology, and they're not going to spend $1 million to put up a tower that doesn't do the job. So that's just the threat of the multiple lawsuit at Michael's Limousine, lawsuit at Coolidge Ave. Now they've been denied by the council, and they're hoping to work out a deal with the electric light to put the antennas on their poles. So on some ways, the city may be looking at, hey, it's off our plate. Let the electric light cut a deal. And I reached out to the chairman, Bill Aylward, and he did tell me that, they're working, they're doing what they can. They really want to help the city. But, you know, and I don't want to speak for him, but my take is on it, is Verizon wants to go on those poles at a very cheap price, okay, and not what the going rate is. And I just think that it's outrageous for Verizon to do that. I mean, there's a rate, they're doing it in other communities, and if they come in at half the price, if let's say the light plan said you can come in at half the price, you're setting a precedent because AT&T is coming, Sprint is coming, so Verizon should pay the way and put your antennas up and call it a day, unless there's an ulterior motive here, and I don't, greed is always an ulterior motive, right? That's what this is about.
But are all the other communities saying, I mean, are you suggesting that Peabody is being targeted by Verizon because they want a cheaper rate than what the city of Peabody is asking?
Yeah, well, not the city of Peabody. The light plant.
I mean,
the light plant has a figure that,
right,
that they're going to charge Verizon to put an antenna on that pole.
Right.
They don't want to pay that fee. They think it's too high.
Now, is it too high in relation? I guess that's my question. I didn't word it very well, but is it really too high? Is it in relation to what other cities and towns are paying?
I think it is. I think, and I'm not. I can't say 100% certain,
right,
but I think it is. But they're also hanging this lawsuit over the city's head right now. So that also puts a lot of pressure on the light plant to say, good, you know, if we don't settle this or try to help them get out of this situation, are they going to come back? And because there was an issue at the meeting where whether the proper format was followed during the meeting. So, you know, when I was on the council, I was taught by councilors that had a lot more experience than me when I first started. You make a motion in the affirmative. Motion to approve, motion, you don't, and it's much clearer. Even if I was opposed to something, motion to approve, hoping that said motion fails. And it makes it nice and clear. When you make a
more
motion,
gentlemanly too, yeah.
Yeah, when you make a motion to deny, so that's what happened. They made the motion to deny, and two people said no, so it failed, and it just hangs out there. So there is no, and maybe we're getting too technical for people, but so anyway, it failed, so now that everybody's just sitting there, so somebody says motion to reconsider, meaning they want to bring the vote back and talk about it again, and you can do that. And in the middle,
you have to be on the prevailing side, right, to do that?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
And so, I don't know who won that vote, but it went nowhere. It was just in limbo because it didn't pass because it was a negative motion. So it's out there. So anyway, during the motion to reconsider just means, hey, we want to talk about it again, let's have a vote. And if they approve it, it's back on the floor. In the middle, somebody says, motion, I would like to take a motion to recess. That's illegal. You can't do that. It's against council rules. What that means is motion to reconsider, okay, roll call vote. Immediately, no debate, no nothing. And it goes right to it. And then they voted to reconsider, it's back on the floor, then somebody made a motion to recess. And just watching it on TV, it made it look like they were getting up to discuss it, and you can't do that. It's an open public meeting, and their lawyer is sitting there watching this. So my point is, I'm hoping that what this lawyer is doing, I'd probably do the same thing. He's got multiple ways to attack us with a lawsuit if he doesn't get what he wants in terms of the right scale on those polls. And it was just, I don't know if it's inexperience.
Well,
or I don't know. I think Ann Manning was the one that jumped in and said, you can't make a motion to, you can't a recess in the middle of, to reconsider.
Well,
so it's just
obviously, it seems to me that a lot of this has to do with maybe this lawsuit that's still out there as far as, so in other words, using these as leverages to, to either let go of the lawsuit,
right,
move away from it, deny the lawsuit or whatever. I mean, just cancel it, or to get the price they want for the poles, because on the antenna, because obviously the parliamentary procedure that happened in the in the chambers during this whole thing, they did there's some violations there. There's some violations. The open meeting law has been violated. And if their lawyer was sitting there watching this, okay, and they, these counselors met in a corner of the chambers, away from everybody else, not in secret. It was there. It was out in the open, but to get the votes they needed to get it passed. That's clearly a violation.
And look, I'm just looking at it on TV. I don't know what they're saying. Maybe they're talking about the Red Sox.
Well, maybe
game.
they are, but I doubt it.
Yeah. But this is why the procedure matters.
That's true.
If you have to go to court, and if you didn't follow the proper procedure, you could get lumped in court.
Right.
And so somebody has to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. You can't do that. And I don't know where our attorney was, if he was there or he wasn't there. I thought he was there, and if it was wrong, he should have stood up and said, "No, you can't do that." This is, and because Verizon's lawyers there watching.
Well,
this.
Verizon has to be really stung by the way the city of Peabody has treated them so far. I mean, moving it from one site to another site, okay, and then to another. You know what I'm saying? So they've been jostled around here, and that's why they brought the lawsuit anyway. Correct?
Yep.
Now you got this thing, this show that went on at the city council, and this is what I mean, folks. When we talk about, Barry and I've been talking about, you need to, these folks at City Hall are supposed to be representing us, and all of their dealings has to, they have to think about what's in the best interest of the city. Their job is not to cause. Not to cause, by any action they take, a lawsuit from somebody. I mean, because obviously the cost of a lawsuit is going to come back to us, right?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, all of their actions, this is why we complain about, we're not trying to be negative here, but there's been a lot of negative stuff done at the city council level that, and this is just the latest one. I mean, and, what are these people thinking? I don't understand.
I tend to think that a lot of this is being overseen by lawyers, and that's why there's so much legalese going on and sidebars and talking. And
We have a call.
Okay. Oh, you got a call? Go ahead.
Yeah. Caller, you're on.
Make the call.
Hey, how are you? How you doing?
My favorite TV show in the whole country.
How you doing?
The ratings are going through the roof now that Barry's there.
Okay, and I know you're calling because of probably the Kavanaugh case, right?
Kavanaugh case, huh? Who's Kavanaugh?
Okay. Okay.
So I just want to ask you guys, when you guys were in high school, 17 years old, at parties and whatnot, do you remember what you did?
We were talking, it's funny, you must have been listening to our conversation because that's what we were talking about too. No, I don't remember everything I did. I'd remember some things I did though.
And I hope I don't remember
I
everything
don't remember everything
Oh,
I
my
did.
God.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I get your point.
Anyway,
But would you, let me ask you this now, to be honest with you. You don't remember everything you did. There's no question about that, neither do I. However, you remember certain things that you did, especially if they were wrong, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Okay.
But I would probably repress those things I did wrong. Think about good things you did good.
But you would remember things that, that you shouldn't have ever done. You done that were really wrong. So, all right, having said that, let's move on. Okay, so it's a long time ago, but that still doesn't, if it's true, if these charges, allegations are true, that still defines a character flaw and an issue, don't you think?
No.
No? Yes?
No.
No? Okay.
Here's a guy that says he's, was a virgin in high school. I don't think, the guy's a saint.
He should be a priest?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're not buying any of these. You think it's all a political thing, right?
Well, he dated a couple of girls that have come forward that he was a fine gentleman. I guess they would have to say, yeah, he's telling the truth. He was a virgin.
Okay. So this is what the big issue is with this with this Kavanaugh case, is that there's so many people who are strongly on both sides of the issue, and so this is why it's such a tough situation to deal with, especially for the people in Washington. They got to be making a vote pretty soon whether to confirm this guy or not.
Oh, he'll get confirmed.
Huh?
He'll get confirmed.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
It's still. I think it's still on for the day after tomorrow, I think. And have you heard? I mean, I think that's what the date is. It's going to be. I think Friday was the date.
Friday, yeah, Friday.
Yeah. So it's the day after tomorrow. So, but supposedly another allegation came up. So there's got to be time to investigate that. So.
I heard our president today said that if he nominated Washington to be the Supreme Court justice, all the Democrats would vote no.
I didn't hear that.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised, but they're worried about migration from the Republican side. Do you see any of that, you think?
No.
Okay. Even the Trump non-supporters within the Republican Party?
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see. It'd be interesting. We'll see. Okay.
All right.
What else is on your mind? Anything? I'm watering the plant, as you see. It's looking pretty good.
Speaking of plants, what the hell's going on in front of the Higgins Pool? It looks like the Vietnam jungle there.
It looks like what?
The Vietnam jungle.
Really?
Yeah, it's like all overgrown tall bushes and weeds. You can barely see the Higgins sign.
I'll have to ride by there. I didn't. Maybe they. Vacations for the Department of Public Works, they're not working. I don't know, but I'll have to ride by and look and see what you're talking about, and we'll report back to you next week.
All right.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Be good.
Hey, can you ask, are we on live tonight? Are we on YouTube tonight?
Yeah.
Are we?
No, we're not. Okay, we're just on the.
It'll get posted up on YouTube tonight. The live feed wasn't working for me. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we were supposed to be on live tonight on YouTube,
Yeah,
but
we wanted to know if we were gonna
we
be
had a
live
technical
YouTube.
problem, but it'll be posted later on tonight.
Okay.
'Cause,
That's what we were. I'm sorry that
Okay.
sorry we didn't mean to break the laws regarding public meetings, but we just wanted to find out if we were on streaming live tonight on YouTube, but we're not. So, but it'll be posted later.
It'll be posted on. It'll be on
Okay.
tonight.
Okay.
And,
Okay, so, but the concern about the antenna issue is that our own elected officials are making it so difficult to get this thing done, and using so many, I guess, parliamentary tactics to make the whole thing more convoluted than it should be. Because you said, I could tell the frustration in your remarks. Why don't they just, get these things on the polls and move on, make it another day? And I agree with that. But now it's in the hands of the electric light. And when I said the city, I always considered the electric light.
I
And I
understand.
know they're separate, but they're separate, but we're the same.
No,
So.
and they're trying to help, but they can't be doormats for Verizon. Why don't you go and ask Verizon to reduce your phone bill? And reduce it for everybody in the neighborhood. What are they going to tell you?
No. Yeah.
Right? So let them pay the fair rate. Call it a day, unless there's another thing here where they're going to try to use some of these lawsuits as leverage to put pressure on them.
That's what I
and
think.
maybe it is, but
what I think.
it needs to get. You know what? And talking to other people have seen it's nothing. It's a little antenna on top of a pole. You won't even notice
It's
it.
not invasive
But you have to
whatsoever.
do it the right way, because this will set a precedent on the rate, and everybody else is going to be coming for their own antennas. And I still ask the question: how did it become? It was a cell phone coverage gap in Ward 1. Now it's a citywide thing. We need antennas everywhere. So that was never the intent. That was never the intent. It's all a smokescreen to get antennas all over the city. And that's fine. Why didn't they just come forward?
And say it. Yeah,
And John
yeah.
Turco, I think, was the one that brought up the antenna system.
Right.
So we're there. Let's just pay the freight, get it done, and then we can have great coverage. Isn't it about serving your customers? Said fighting lawsuits?
Right.
Maybe if
No, I
they didn't
agree.
have lawsuits, they'd say my rates would go down.
Well, anyway, so we thought we'd bring that up again because it's a problem, but that leads us into something else. Councilor Manning made a motion to that no new business be taken up after 11 o'clock. And because one of the reasons we have such a you-know-what show on these antennas is because only 6 councilors could vote because they weren't there because a meeting went so long one time after midnight.
It was 12, 15 in the morning.
And so anyway, those folks, it was too late for them. They had to go someplace or whatever, and they couldn't stay to vote, so they couldn't vote. And I think the motion not to have business conducted after 11 o'clock, for a lot of reasons, is a sound one. Yeah. But you don't want to cut the people's business off at 11 either. If but the thing is, they should be able to get everything done without these, without these stalling tactics.
My thing is that I don't particularly care if they have to go past 11, but it's not proper to make people who are there for a special permit hearing at 7:30 to wait till midnight to be heard. If that's the case, then they either should be moved up or you end it at 11. So, because it's not fair to them, because I've been through those meetings at 11:30, 12 o'clock. You're exhausted, you're tired, you're irritable, and you may not do quite the due diligence that you would do at 8 o'clock or 8:30, because sometimes you're in a subcommittee from 6 o'clock and now you're at midnight.
Yeah.
And this is all about transparency. That's all it is. Put it out for the public. Maybe I couldn't go to the meeting because I have a health issue and I want to watch the special permit meeting on TV, and now it's 11:30 at night, 12 o'clock at night, and it shouldn't be done that way. So Councilor Manning made the motion. There were some words in there, and some of the councilors protested. I think she put in, I read it, and it said something about to conduct a business at reasonable hours, because they may have fatigue, and somebody didn't like the intent of that. And to me, she's being kind. Let's not do business in the middle of the night. Let's not pass votes in the middle of the night that can hurt the city. That's what happened with the polls. They opened the hearing at 12:30 and they closed it. 5 people weren't there or whatever it was, and now it turned into a. So. She's being kind. I just said it the way I would have said it, but she's trying to be nice.
And the thing is that what's wrong with the people we elect and send to the chambers down there at City Hall, the city councilors, when they see a bunch of people coming into City Hall from 50, 60 neighbors. Okay, they have lives too. I mean, they shouldn't be running down to City Hall every time something comes up. But when they do and they feel strong enough about an issue to come down to City Hall and make those poor citizens wait and wait and wait because there's gamesmanship, going on because it seems as though that maybe some of these councilors don't want to make a vote that night or whatever the issue is. But out of respect for the people who elect you and send you to that board, that body, you would think that the ward councilor, and they know who's in that hall, they know it's their constituents, would make a motion to move the agenda for these people. Okay? Now, if some business has to wait, how much more business is more important? What business would be more important than the people business who are right in the chamber? Really, when you think about it. So if Verizon has to wait, well, it's just okay. Well, these people pay people pay the bills here, okay, and they deserve to be. So if they're down here in full force, and I think it's wrong for a city councilor, a ward councilor, not to turn around, see who's there, and say, "These are my constituents. I want the agenda changed. I make a move, and it should be passed by the city council."
And you just remember.
That's what I think. And I think that's, Ann Manning made this motion. I wish she could amend it to also, or make another motion saying, when you get a situation where people show up, they should be moved to the top of the top of the list on the agenda.
And remember, the school committee has the same rule. So why do counselors, object to it? And they tried to make amendments to her motion to change it, and they lost.
Good.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's
Hallelujah.
It's wordsmithing. You're trying to, and at the end of the day, 30 years from now, no one's going to remember what the intent was. All it is no business after 11. It's not fair to the residents. It's not fair to conduct business after hours, and you're tired, and it's not proper. And then you might not make the right decisions because you just want to get out of there. And I've been through those meetings.
Yeah.
So. Kudos to her, and
but intent,
it did pass.
You mentioned intent. It's very important because the intent is to serve the people that elect you, okay? And if you don't give them the respect to recognize that they're in the room, okay, instead of ignoring them, which is what they do. The school committee was famous for that, but now the city council obviously has been doing it for years too. They want people to go home instead of inviting people in, so people get excited that they can get up and talk and have a chance to voice their opinion on an issue. They get shuttled aside, and just made to wait. So you know what happens to a lot of them? They do have to go home. Fatigue does set in, especially for older people. Okay, so fatigue does set in. I don't care what counselors don't like the word fatigue. I don't either, but I get tired once in a while. I have to take a nap. Okay, and so these poor buggers come down for 2 or 3 hours. Men sitting in those uncomfortable chairs down there and listen to a bunch of blowhards going all over the place.
I've seen city councils fall asleep at meetings.
Oh, I can tell you 3 of them right now, but I won't. But I won't.
But if the school committee had the rules and it wasn't a problem, and then we have some school committee members that had issues with it. I don't know why one is different than the other. And once again, the intent is to just conduct the business of the people and not.
But if you had a president of the council, okay, if you had a president of the council that would say, and this would go a long way to soothe people's feelings and attitudes about politicians anyway. If you had a city council president that said, Councilor Sinewitz, I noticed a large segment of Ward 6 residents here tonight. Do you have a motion that you want to make? In other words, defer, say, oh, you want these people, do you want to take up that issue that they're here for? And I don't know if he can do it automatically or it's a vote of the council, but whatever way.
You have an agenda.
Right.
You follow the agenda. If you say, Mr. President, under suspension of rules, I'd like to move to item 3 because I have 40 people here, and they can do that, but it takes one person to object. And if one person objects, then maybe they have a hearing in front. No, it could just be on. They might have the hearing in front of it, and they don't want to they want to get that hearing done. But most people are reasonable. They do it all the time. If they're going to do appointments, and sometimes an appointment is in the middle of the meeting, they'll move it up to the right at the beginning, to, so that person to go home. And I've seen it done many times when the city attorney's in the house and he doesn't want to stay there till 11 o'clock.
Yeah, he doesn't want to put a full day's work.
We don't want him chasing fly balls all night.
Right. Yeah. Can't get you a ball game. He's coaching.
Yeah. So I've seen it done many a times, and the thing is one thing I was good at, and I was good at reading a crowd and understanding what's going on. And if you have a sense of what's going on in the room and you feel it, then you move and you act on it. And I've been in a lot of situations like that, and you make a decision, and hopefully the city council president has the same sense of.
But isn't that accommodation? I mean, the thing is that you're not all working in different. You're supposed to all be working together. Okay, and when this is what I've been raving about on the show for years. I mean, it seems like the councilors are on a different plane than the people they represent. You know what I mean?
Well, this gets down into
crazy.
Look, at the end of the day, you try to do the best you can for the residents of Peabody. That's number one.
Should.
Whether you like the councilor sitting right there, or you hate them, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You have to put, it's business, and you handle your business, and if you like it, you vote yes. If you don't, but you don't make it personal, so every time that person makes a motion, I'm going to stick it to them.
Right.
And I hope it's not getting to that. I see blocks forming, and that's not what it's about.
You know, blocks have been forming for a long time. It's been that way for years in
Well,
the city. And you know, it
It
is.
doesn't
I mean,
help anybody.
let's call
And
it-
it doesn't help the mayor either.
Let's call it what it is. It's political gamesmanship. There's no question. But the thing is, I mean, you're on the council, so you know. So, for instance, say as I mentioned, the scenario would be this: the president of the council saying, "Councilor Sinewitz, you have constituents here from your ward, Ward 6. Would you like to make a motion?" And say another council would say, "Well, I'm more than willing to vote for that, but I'd like to have. I got a very important thing."
Yeah, I'd say go, fine.
But so it could come up after that. I mean,
Yeah,
then you can at least
be
tell the people
accommodating.
you're only going to be here for you're going to be next after this or whatever.
Yeah.
Rather than sitting there and no one talking to them. I've seen them sitting there and no one talking to them,
And believe me,
hoping
Dick,
they go away.
in my 10 years, I've had it stuck to me many times, and it is what it is. I didn't hold grudges. I took it many times, and when it was certain issues that affected me, that I got blasted, just because I made the motion. If somebody else had made a motion, it would have passed, but because I made it, some people didn't want. You ever hear you have 5 nails on a fence and one starts getting too big, you got to hammer that one down.
Yeah.
And that's what it came to. So I even made a motion one time under when you have to notify abutters, and it's a lot of people. The city was paying for that. You're applying to do something, and you have to notify all your abutters, and the city was paying all the postage. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you have to notify 250 people at 50 cents a stamp, why should the city have to notify people when you're the one applying? So I made the motion. I said, look, some people just, whoa, we can't do that. It was a no-brainer. It was common sense. And why should the city? But it did pass. But it was a fight. It was a fight. And I just thought this, and that was kind of towards the end where I felt like, wow, this is ridiculous. And that's why at some point I said,
Right.
call it a day.
Right.
When it gets to that.
But I mean, just to, it's like driving your car, and you come to an intersection and two people looking at each other. I mean, accommodation is always important in life anyway. You'll live longer and you'll have a better life if you're not, my needs come first type of thing, And the city councils need to accommodate the public more than they do. They don't accommodate them enough.
Yeah.
They do not accommodate them enough, and I'd be the first one to admit it, that, for years and years, I've seen them. I've been down at City Hall where you could see the friction between some of them.
But good ideas can come from anybody. It could be from somebody you don't like on the council.
Sure.
But they come up with a good idea, and you should support that idea and not go through it and analyze it and try to destroy it and break it down. And I kind of see some of that going on, and that's not the way it should be.
Right, I agree.
It should be just take each issue at itself. Don't take it personal. If you don't have thick skin, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
And I see some people just overreacting. If somebody says something to them that they may not like or they disagree, there's a little tension there, and it shouldn't be that way. You're just there to do the business. And no, it's hopefully.
So I'm hoping that some councilor does make that motion that, from now on, when people come down, neighbors come down to voice their opinion on a public hearing, or something in their neighborhood, if you've got a bunch of them there, they should be treated with courtesy by the council as a body, because they were elected by these people, and I think moving them up on the agenda shouldn't be such a big issue.
Yeah, and a lot of that is to.
What do you think? You on the council? Would that be a good motion? Or?
Yeah. Well, I think you have to see what the agenda is and what's on. So if you have, let's say there's a mom and pop store wants to open something up, and they're on the agenda. In front of them is the trucking facility on Farm Ave, and you're going to be there for 2 hours. talking about that trucking facility, and they're going to be there for 10 minutes. So if in whoever's ward that is, will be the one to say, to make the motion and say, listen, let's get these people out of here. It's a simple special permit. Let's get them out of here so they don't have to stay here and sleep for 2 hours on that. And sometimes they bring people with them to speak in favor. Some people might come to speak against. But it's a courtesy, and it's what you get a sense of what's on the agenda.
It's a simple recognition that these people are there for. I mean, come on, they don't even recognize these people. They don't even recognize them. I mean, you know that. They see them there. Everybody turns around, looks. I see the counselor sometimes looking, and they don't say anything.
Depends who the lawyer of choice is representing.
Well,
when there's a certain lawyer, and then another.
That should not be the guiding principle.
Another famous scheme is when you have a big issue and a lot of neighbors come out, and then they get all flustered. We'd like a recess. So now people have to. When people show up, that tells you something. When a lot of people show up, that tells you something, right? Because people just don't get up and want to come to City Hall. That's the last thing they want to do after working all day. That tells you that it's an important issue to them. And then the lawyer, and then motion to recess, and then 2 weeks later, everybody comes back, and then there's a little less people. Then they recess it again, and then there's a dribs and drabs. And that is absolutely a strategy.
And that's why people get angry. That's why they think nothing, the people they elect don't care about them, because they treat them like they're not worth anything. That's the point I'm making. I mean, I know the strategy. I mean, I've seen them, they do it, they recess, and then you're right. And then someone's got an event to go to, someone can't do it anymore, and I mean, people have lives too. You strike while the iron's hot, unless the council doesn't want to vote on it that night, and they do it which isn't right, but the thing is, I understand the strategies, but the point is, they're treating people with a lot of disrespect. They really are. And I think it's wrong. I do. I think it's wrong. And I think they need to change it. I do. And those are simple requests.
Yeah. There's
simple requests. And it shouldn't be the lawyer. You said that it depends on
but that's
who the lawyer of the day is. I mean, I don't think
the city council president makes the agenda.
Right.
So when he's looking at the agenda, that's when, or he or she is making the agenda, this is where you can look at some things and say, we should move this one up. This is going to be 3 hours.
Can he do that unilaterally on his own? So he doesn't have
He can leave stuff off the agenda.
Okay. So he really doesn't have to go to the ward council other than to say, that's what I meant when I first mentioned it. Council, did you want to make a motion? In other words, he's sending a message to the rest of the council.
The agenda comes out the week before.
Right.
So when he sets the agenda, he can't just arbitrarily do it that night. But if he reads it and says, okay, we got all this and we got a couple of little people, let's put them 1, 2, and then the longer permits will come after, but that's just common sense. And
but he doesn't know how many people are going to show up or anything like that. So if
no, but you get a sense when there's a hotbed issue.
Okay.
When you have a big project, you know when people are coming.
Yeah. Okay.
So look, just try to do what's right for the people, and you can never go wrong.
Okay.
And then you can sleep at night. You don't have to. Some people sleep either way. It doesn't really matter.
I don't want to beat this to death, but you get the point, folks. Some changes have to be made the way they treat people that come down on
the other thing too
neighborhood issues.
We're talking about lawsuits now. The adult store on Route 1 was denied.
Adam and Eve.
It was denied, and that was another motion in the negative, but that's neither here nor there. Now, there was an article in the item that they are going to file suit against the city.
What's the basis of the suit,
Well, I guess we have an adult zone. We found a spot in the adult zone. We want to open in the adult zone, and you tell us no. And so I don't remember all the reasons it was denied, but no local need. There's a lot of
no desirable need.
Local need. But in that plaza, there's a gym, so they're worried about children being there. So, it's a tough one. Whether you like what the business is, it is zoned for that. And if we're not going to follow our zoning on what we have, then, I think we could be in trouble on that in a court. Because now, if you're going to go by desirable local need, I mean, we have 9,000 used car lots on Route 1. I haven't seen one denied on desirable local need. So, I'm not a lawyer, but I started to go to school to be one, and I switched out, but because I had a conscience. This is what people look at. This is how you present a case. And so we'll see what happens. Look, we don't want the city tied up in lawsuits. I mean.
But on something like this, it's always a catch-22. What do we get there, 10 minutes? Okay, thank you. It's always a catch-22. See, if the council denied that for what you said, I think, is there a local need, a desirable local need, I don't think there is. Maybe there is. But the other thing is, if there's children in the area, in that same plaza, I think that's a reasonable thing.
He had some, the council
the city has some
sincere
valuable assets on their side and valuable points on their side to say no, okay? But the thing is that just because they're denied, it doesn't mean it's a prejudicial thing. It means that we think we got enough of enough in the adult zone as it is, and we got over here. We got we got a group that we want to protect, children, and a demographic we want to protect against what you're offering, your product. And
the other thing that was wrong with that permit is the presenting lawyer overstepped his bounds. He actually called out the Ward 5 councilor in a public meeting and kind of questioned his integrity when he said, I can't believe this, I talked to you, you didn't say anything, and then you voted for the pot. Why don't you vote for, that was the most ignorant thing I've ever seen. And he was out of line, and that's a big mistake.
That is a big mistake.
That's a big mistake.
Yep.
Because you talk about wanting to do the right thing, but people have long memories, and when somebody tries to publicly embarrass you, that you don't forget. And that lawyer is one of the local of choice, and he'll be back again. And I got to tell you, I'm not really. If I was there, I'd make sure all his I's and dotted and his T's are crossed.
Of course.
I would let him have it.
And it probably wasn't the right choice for someone to represent them, but you certainly can't deny the reasons the city wants to deny it. You know what I mean?
He also made some far-out comment. Well, I think this is the only place on Route 1 that you can have it in the adult zone. You think? What kind of a response do you think? That's idiotic. You're an attorney. You should know. You're representing that area. So, because you can't be 1,000 feet to another facility that has adult products or dancing or nudity, but it can't be near a residence. So it's kind of staggered.
Well,
so
let me ask you this. Now, you've dealt with it a long time now in this phrase for 10 years on the city council. What, in your mind, does local desirable need mean?
Most of the time, it doesn't mean a thing unless it's a controversial thing. I mean, I just gave you the example of used car lots. It's a benign use, it's a car lot. No one really thinks twice about it. Okay, it's a car lot, whatever. Now, maybe if I'm a competitor, I'm going to complain there's too many pizza shops. Most of the time, it's not an issue, only when it's a controversial type of thing. I'm trying to think of why things were denied because of quote-unquote desirable local need. Because then you get into the topic of competition. Like, there is already a place up the street. We don't need a one. But we have 8 of these. We have 8 gas stations. We have 6 pizza shops. So, that's, I guess it's a reason to deny something. I can't really say exactly. It's when you know what it is when.
But usually lawyers use it in the context of it meets a local desirable need. to fill the local
Well,
design.
that's in our zoning. That's one of the things that it says.
Right.
And whether that stands up in court. And look, we have 10,000 houses, million houses in Peabody. So if we turn down a housing project because it doesn't, we have enough, and you're right, maybe have enough housing. It doesn't have the desirable local need, or maybe some people say, yeah, we do have the need. We need more housing. So it all kinds of where you're coming from in terms of a local need.
Right.
I remember Gamache had that on, I forget what the issue, it may have been another used car lot. And I think people were getting tired of so many of them.
Of course.
So many of them. But they all passed. But if it's a strip joint, then we already have two. We don't have a desirable local need, right?
Well, okay. So the Adam and Eve, so they're going to sue too, right?
Well, that's what it implied.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
maybe he finds another location and it all goes away. But I think the counsel was sincere in what he said.
Me too.
And for the lawyer to call him out is just, too, is other counselors should, you are a group. And when one gets attacked, you don't sit there and go, he deserves it. You're a group, and you should stand up for each other.
Yeah.
When somebody's out of line like that.
True.
You don't let somebody do that to one of your fellow counselors.
Because you
That's
could be in
wrong.
the same boat.
Well,
You could be in the same boat pretty soon,
whoa, it all depends whose axes is being gored,
We got a couple of minutes to go. I guess we're getting to some signs here. But I want to mention there's a couple of things that I got the election booklet in the mail today. About the questions and all that. So we're going to be doing a show on those questions. We do that usually every year anyway. Go over the questions and all that kind of stuff. So we promise we're going to do that. I know the election's quite a way away, but there'll be a couple of interesting questions. This one that the nurses, yes, the patient care for the nurses is the number one question, and they spent a lot of money on that question, I guess, both sides. So that'll be interesting. See how that comes out. So
that's a battle royal.
Yeah, and so we're going to do that, and we'll go over. Not only the dates, obviously, of the election, but all of the officers involved and whatnot. So we'll keep you very much advised on all that stuff. So we're going to do a show. I think what we'll do is one of the late shows in October. We'll do the last Wednesday before the election, and we'll do that. We'll go over all of that. So
and this Friday is the 200th Topsfield Fair. And I don't know if you go, but
I don't.
My wife drags me every year.
Yeah.
And we walk through the chicken coop and the rabbit house, and you see the biggest pumpkin. It's fun.
Yeah,
we enjoy it. We enjoy it.
Yeah, it's just too much money. I take the kids and grandkids. It's just cost me an arm and a leg. I just, I don't want to do that.
So are they saying it started in 1818?
If it's 200, that you take 200 off.
Yeah,
do that to 1818. So
that's not too far from when they wrote the Constitution. That's amazing.
So all I know is that there's always when you have something like that, there's always somebody trying to make a buck. I can remember driving up there one time years ago where a guy stopped. We stopped at the coming off Route 1 there and go around the circle where the two gas stations are, and the light was there. And the guy jumps out with a map. You want an easy way to get to the Topsfield Fire? And they had a map.
You got to know how to get there.
So all the back roads and everything. And what do we got? 20 seconds? Is it 20 seconds? Okay. 20 seconds? Okay. So anyway, he sold it. It was $1. So, I threw out $1. And
I'm glad my kids are over because I dropped $200 on the rides. Oh, my God.
But anyway, we're getting the word to wrap it up. So we want to say thank you very much if you watched tonight. Hopefully, sorry about the YouTube, but it'll be posted later on. Yeah, so you can see what we have to say. And thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks when we ask you to make the call. Thanks a lot. Take care.